Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So in this one we're going to be talking about mobile games controllers. So if your mobile phone, if you're doing some mobile gaming, if you're doing stuff like cloud gaming with Stadia or GeForce Now, and we've got the three that we kind of see as, I guess, our top picks and some of the most popular ones that are out there at the moment for ones that actually attach to your mobile phone. So we're going to be going across which one we like the best, which one we like the least, and the ones that we'd recommend and some of the reasons why. So let's get on with the video. So without making you have to watch the entire thing to find out which one we find the best, our top pick is the Backbone one, and that comes for a number of reasons. Probably our bottom of the pile is the GameSir X2, and then sort of middle of the ground is the Razer Kishi, but we'll get into that in a little bit more detail now. So first up, let's talk about the build quality, and I've got to say they're all pretty well made. They all have their own little flaws, but for the most part they all feel really solid. The Backbone one is just a really nice feeling bit of kit, and in our opinion it has a couple of reasons why it takes the lead in terms of its build quality. First up, it feels really sturdy, so when your phone is in here it feels really secure, it's clamped in nicely. But the big win about this is these sort of grips down at the bottom, so when you do have your phone in there you've got somewhere to rest these bottom fingers. It might not seem like much of an issue, but anybody who's used something like the PSP or those kind of rounded devices, after a while you kind of get this claw-like cramp in your hands. Well, at least we do, and I know a few people in the comments have mentioned it as well. So having something there just feels really nice. The button layout and everything just feels really smooth, and overall it's a really nice device. It does have its flaws though, which the other ones don't have, and that is this lightning connector here is just one kind of a solid piece, so it's just stuck in one position. So to get your phone in you kind of have to kind of extend it, pop it in, and just do the same getting it out as well. And there's definitely no flex in that, so you've got to be really careful about it kind of damaging the pins of your lightning port. Something like the Kishi is our second favourite, and I've got to say one thing I like about this is just it does feel very solid. It pops out like so it's this kind of telescopic approach. You attach the clips there and it pops out, and the great thing is it's available for multiple size devices. You've got these rubberized bits in here which clamp it in really nicely, so once your phone's in there it's easy enough just to kind of drop your phone in, drop it out. You don't have to worry too much about damaging the lightning port, which is a massive win. And then these bits here hold it in place, which is something that the Backbone one doesn't do, so there is a little bit of wiggle room up and down on the Backbone one. All in all, it feels really good and it's nice to use. It does get a little bit hand crampy after a while because there's nowhere to really put your fingers, and it is a bit sharp on the back as well, so when your phone's in there you've got all these sort of like loose bits here and they can feel quite sharp on your fingers, so that's one thing to bear in mind. The big letdown of this device is the left hand side, so because it's on this like elastic pulley, this bit wiggles a lot. It doesn't happen on the right hand side because obviously you've got your phone plugged into this part here, but on the left hand side, because there's nothing that it actually fastens into the phone, it does kind of wiggle up and down, and after a while it's just a bit frustrating. You get used to it, it's not a deal breaker, but again it's something to bear in mind. The GameSir X2 is down at the bottom just because the plastic itself feels a little bit cheaper. It is nice enough to hold and you've got this kind of nice grip on the back. It doesn't have any sharp bits like the Razer Kishi does, and it has this nice kind of grip here. This worries me just because it slides up and down really easy. I'm not too sure how long that will last, but the big letdown of this device is how clicky it is in comparison to the others. It's a really loud device, and considering we're talking about mobile gaming here, so something you might do on the bus or in public transport, you're going to get kicked off those things because it's just so loud. One big win for this is that the lightning port is very flexible, so it does flex sort of up and down, so that way getting your device in and out of it you don't have to worry about any damage at all, so really like that. And for that reason the Backbone one does take the lead just because it's the most comfortable to use. I really like the feel of the plastic. For long play sessions, having that there it makes a massive deal for us. Now let's talk about the buttons, and to be fair, they're all very similar. When it comes to performance, it's plugged in, using things like xCloud, using things like GeForce Now and Stadia, we found no difference across the board when it came to latency or input lag. However, the buttons do all feel a little bit different. I would say probably my favourite out of the lot is the Razer Kishi, just because everything feels nice. There's a decent satisfying click on all of the buttons really. The A, X, Y and B are probably the best out of the lot of them, and yeah, I've had a real good time using this. The second one is going to be the Backbone. It does feel a little bit mushy in the A, X, Y and B, but it's not too bad, and the joysticks feel very nice to use as well. I like the triggers and the bumpers, they're pretty well laid out, and overall it's a decent feeling control scheme on here. My least favourite is definitely the GameSir X2. I like probably the bumpers and the triggers the best out of them. They feel well spaced and there's a decent amount of room there. But again, they're loud, but we've already mentioned that. But the big problem with this device, in my opinion, is these joysticks. They feel almost a little bit too small and uncomfortable. So if you use them after a little while, it feels almost like they're bruising my thumbs. And again, your experience may vary, but I just am not a fan of these. They feel just that little bit too small. So that's one thing to bear in mind as well. It's also, this joystick on the right is literally bang in line with the A, X, Y, and B. You do get used to it, and it's not too much of an issue at all, but they are just like literally straight in line. Everything else here is slightly offset on the Razer Kishi, slightly offset on the Backbone one as well, so they don't really get in the way quite as much as it does in here. Features wise, I've got to say it's pretty much a washout across all of them. They're all very, very similar. They've all got this lightning port on the bottom here, so that way you can charge it, you get the pass-through charging. Same with the Razer Kishi, and same with the Backbone. So in terms of features, they're all pretty much identical. The Backbone does slightly edge it out because it also has a headphone jack as well. So if you are doing anything like cloud gaming, you want to have as a little wireless interference as possible. So being able to wire up your headphones does make a difference, so we're going to give the win to the Backbone one. But apart from that, they are all pretty identical right across the board. And then the last and final thing I guess to talk about is portability. And the Kishi does come out on top here because obviously it folds up into this kind of nice little compact size, although realistically it doesn't actually make it that much smaller. It is a pretty big device. If we compare them, you know, even when folded up, it's still a big, thick device there, so bear that in mind. However, the Kishi does obviously edge it out just a little bit. The Backbone is then the next, I guess, smallest, although again, it's not much. It is a little bit taller than something like the GameSir X2. The GameSir X2 comes with a nice little carrying case, which you can sling it into, so that's something to bear in mind. So the Kishi takes the win in that respect, so it is the more, I'm not going to say pocketable, because it absolutely isn't really, but it's easy enough to kind of fold it up and sling it into a bag. So between all of these devices, they are very, very similar, and to be honest, you can't really go too far wrong with these. The GameSir X2 is the more budget option, so it does come in at, I think it's about $59.99. It's a nice build, it's a little bit loud for my taste, and these joysticks just feel a little bit harsh on my thumbs. So for that reason, that's why it's at the bottom of my list when it comes to these controllers. The Razer Kishi is a really nice device. It's a really well made device. It feels very, very solid. Obviously it drops down and then it collapses into this smaller device. You can kind of fling it into a bag and stuff like that. Controls all feel very, very nice and satisfying to use. My only issue is on that left side, it just feels wobbly and it's really annoying. And then on the back as well, when you're kind of resting your fingers on it, when this bit's gone, it's got all the kind of sharp edges exposed and it's a bit uncomfortable to use after a little while. The Backbone one, in our opinion, is almost perfect. It's a very, very nice device to use. Really, really, very comfortable. A lot more comfortable than the other ones, and I was very surprised by that. But it is at the top end of the budget. So the Razer Kishi retails for around about $79.99 on Amazon, whereas the Backbone one, we've only ever found it for like its full asking price of $99.99. And when it comes to that sort of lightning port there, it's something that you do need to bear in mind. I know people might kind of sit and go, well, it's easy enough just to kind of lift it like so or drop it in like that, but sometimes you do forget, and with these ones that's not an issue. If you have a child or somebody else who's maybe a little bit clumsy, this might not be worthwhile bearing in mind just for that reason alone, because if you are giving them it, they're going to be kind of scraping the hell out of the inside of their lightning port. And obviously when you're using a phone like an iPhone, it is pretty expensive, so something worth bearing in mind. So all in all, you can't really go too far wrong with these. If you're just looking for something that is budget, the GameSir X2, it's still a really decent device. It's responsive, it feels well made enough, and if you're not going to be doing too much gaming, then this is just a nice, comfortable way to give you that experience. The Kishi, I actually really like this, and this is the first one that we used, so the bar was set pretty high with this, and apart from a couple of little issues, you know what, it's almost perfect. And then the Backbone one, apart from that lightning port, you know what, I am a big, big fan of these. So if you have the budget and you are doing a lot of cloud gaming and you are doing a lot of mobile gaming and you're willing to spend the money, then I would say the Backbone one is at the top of the list at the moment. So Let us know, what have you been using? What's your favourite games controller? Obviously, we know there are other controllers out there. So beforehand, we're using an Xbox One controller. Obviously, we have the Stadia controller as well. But this is more about ones that phones clamp into. So let us know, what's your favourite controller? What are you using and why? Do you use any of these three? And if so, which ones would you pick if you were in our situation? You could just have any one of those. Hope you've enjoyed that video. If you have, hit the like and subscribe button and come along for some more content in the future. And we'll see you soon. Bye.